welcome back. Another episode of Memories with Mumbo. Last episode, we talked a little bit about walleye fishing and the walleye that are on the wall up there at Dad's house up there in Glendo. And we had mentioned he's got a big trip coming up. And so this episode, we're going to talk a little bit more about that and kind of his plan of action. And I don't know, some of his other stuff he's got going on in the fishing world this summer. So uh, without further ado, Dad, welcome back again.
Be here. Glad to be here. You
Still,
bet.
still
Yeah.
doing good as of 5 minutes ago when we last talked about it.
Quick break. Yeah. Good.
I didn't give you a chance to take a pee break or anything. You good for another 20, 30 minutes?
That's for old people. They need that.
Still young, still young.
Yeah. Be young at heart,
Yep,
you're in trouble.
yep. There we go. So, yeah. So you got a big fishing trip coming up, going to Lake Erie. So, I guess
Lake
lay
Erie.
it out for us. What do you got planned? What do you got going on there?
Well, Saturday morning we'll leave here around 8. Well, between 8 and 10. We'll just put it that way. It's an 18-hour drive, and we stop in. I think we're going to meet up with friends in Ogallala and spread out. I think they're going to have 3 in their truck. Probably don't even need to meet now because we had a buddy that had to drop out. His wife's having surgery, and then another buddy that had some deadlines that he had to meet up with and didn't know if it would be wise for him to go. So, um, got 2 new guys stepping in, and Mike, a good friend of mine, Patton's going to go, and yours, and he's coming up tomorrow. So we'll be ready to take off whenever we want to, and on Saturday. But Curtis and Rob and Tom next door. Um, they're all planning on leaving Saturday morning. We'll all follow each other out there, kind of caravan, and pick up good friend Mark Ulishny and Kozad, and then that's 5 hours away. And then after that, it's another 13 hours down the highway, and feel like I'm going to Mississippi again, but except it's staying north.
Yep. There
Um,
you go.
yeah, so we'll pull into Port Clinton, Ohio, um, Sunday morning, 8 to 10, somewhere in there, and do some grocery shopping and jump on the ferry, and then take the boat some trucks over and stay at Put in Bay um,
Mm,
for the week, um, Sunday through Saturday, or through Friday, I guess. Check out Saturday. Fish
nice.
Lake Erie, pull crankbaits. Going to be on a pattern bite or a bandit bite, and might try some other other patterns that I've been following. I've been actually following a couple different ones for a while, and they're trying some new baits. Outfitters or guides, I guess, that are kind of like me. Like they share information and like to see everybody, especially guys that are traveling out there. So, kind of picked up on them. Got a chance to meet one of them. Um, YouTube, Cody S. He's sometime if you ever want to watch Put in Bay or Lake Erie Monsters, I think he calls it. It's a 2-part video or episode, whatever it is. And he actually stays right. This year, he just got back. He just put his video on 2 days ago, and I think he was done last Friday. So there's going to be a week off between the time he went or left and we get there. So should be pretty close to the same patterns and same temperatures, water and air temperature. Should be pretty close. Just gotta hope for the better winds that there isn't any, and good days. You always take a risk when you go to Erie. Either could have blow days where you have to sit around and watch the weather, and once the wind stops, they'll have small watercraft advisories where they won't let smaller boats on. Small anything under than charter, which I believe is 24 foot.
Okay.
All of ours are 20, 21, 19,
Yeah.
more in there. Um, that being said, this will be our third trip, my third trip, fourth trip, whatever it is, fourth maybe. Um, and there's only been one day out of 4 trips, which is essentially 4 weeks, that we couldn't get on the water. A couple of them we won if maybe we shouldn't have been on the water, but uh, it's it was a huge learning curve for us the first time on that water, because it's an ocean when you get out there. It's different water. It's more rolling water with currents underneath the water rather than the white cap waves that we have at Glendo and McConaughey, some of those plains lakes, if you will. So it takes a little bit. We've had the whole bow underwater before, just waves that crashed over the top. And note to self, that was my fault, because I would spear what they call spear some rolling waves, which, knowing now what I didn't know then, you take them at an angle and you just roll right over them and keep on fishing. Well, back then it was go right into them and try to get out of this as soon as possible. Well, it's an ocean. You're not going to get out of it until you get off the water. So you just got to take your time and be a little bit more aware. And there's been a lot of, like I said, learning curves and things that I definitely have learned to do differently than what I did my first trip out. And know that some people, you just don't stand up. You're sitting down, you're staying down, and we'll do the netting and take it off the boards and everything else, and we'll either do that from the knees from the deck, or if it's good enough that we can stand up. It's a fun experience. It's something new. It's fishing for walleye, which I love to do, and it's a different lake than we've been to a couple different ones that last year we went to Lake of the Woods, which we're going to. We'll talk about here in a little bit. Um, Up in northern Minnesota, Canada. Went up there, and it's different water even than that, which is even different than Devil's Lake that we went to last year. Curtis and I went to Devil's Lake, and that's just like a big old plains lake that's flooded. It's a reservoir. A few years ago, we went to Sakakawea, which is either the first or second largest body of water in the continental United States. Um, res- uh, Reservoir wise, obviously the Great Lakes are bigger, but so we've
Yeah,
been to good
reservoirs.
waters, and that was a goal of mine, that I always wanted to do when I had the Lund. We got that boat because Mom and I had you in the car seat. She might even been before you. It might have been Bree. Now that I'm thinking about it, it was Bree in the car seat, and Jake, our first lab, on the ground, and we are on the floor, and uh, and we were in big waves, big water. And back then, I had turned a Sea Ray ski boat, play boat, into a fishing boat, put a live well in it, and kind of did our thing. And we just had a ball doing it. And I think it scared your mom enough with kid, dog, and me, and knowing that I'm going to go to lakes that big or bigger. That was Lake Oahe in Pierre, South Dakota. And we got home. She said, "If you're going to keep doing this, you need a bigger boat." It's like, yeah. All right. So we got an 1850 Lund. Didn't really get a chance to take it too many places other than McConaughey, Lake McConaughey there in Nebraska, and up here at Glendo. We had when we first got it, went up to Minnesota or Montana and did Canyon Ferry and Hauser and Hewitt. I don't know, those three lakes up there. But other than that, wasn't big water. Then years fast forward, in 2015, got the Ranger, and I was retiring there coming up, and so just decided to start looking at all these different waters that we wanted to go to, that I wanted to go to, and I had Kurt Doors kind of in on every trip we want to do, and he and I will go if nobody else does. But usually it's six of us. We like to take boats, and three on a boat and six in a house, and we've been really good with that. And this Erie trip is going to be four boats, two houses with six, so there'll be 12 of us. And
Wow.
Yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be fun. We'll be able to. I think there'll probably be some contests going on and maybe a little gambling. Who knows? But uh, should be able to get into some really good fish and have a ball out there. There.
Yeah, so you mentioned learning curve and your first year, the actual navigating the waters is one thing, and you know were you pretty successful on the fishing side of it that first year?
Oh yeah, that was when I was talking about the big fish that I caught at Lake Erie. That was my first year out there, and once you get into the water where you want to be, the hardest part's getting there. You know, one not driving wise, but once you're put the boat in the water, you got Lake Erie. I would guess maybe 30 miles, give or take, maybe 25. That's Kakawea. Another good friend of mine, Mike Pyle, and we went. I think it was 49 miles one way. Um, so the hardest part is when you have a current like Erie, or when you have the chopping waves like we had at Sakakawea. The hardest part's getting there because you just can't
Yeah.
open it up, throttle. You're in a new lake. You don't know what's out there. Um, Me personally, until I know the lake, I won't. The boat will go 56, 57 miles an hour. And I won't open it up anything much over 40, 45. Um, till we
Yeah.
water, till we know where we're at. We have good routes on our GPS. We've had a chance to upgrade and use some different sonars on the boat, and now I'm really comfortable with the Garmin I got now, and we'll mark routes every day, so that when we go there, which was really helpful in Lake of the Woods, because there you go through the French Narrows, which honestly you've got about 2 feet on each side of the boat, and there's a back swirl in there that if you slow down too much, takes you into I guess it would be like a lock that they do, slow down the water. I think that's what they're called. It would take you right into that and just crush your boat. So you got to go through it 25, 30 mile an hour. And, you got 2 feet on each side of the boat. And, but, if you don't have your good sonar and your good electronics, you won't even find that up there because everything's islands. It's like being in Canada, where you're, every island looks the same. You don't know where you're at, and the rocks that stick out just under the water, and knowing where you're at depth wise, and just all the different things that navigation wise you have to be aware of, and always cautious of things that are out there on new bodies of water. Um, it's just something that I've really grown to enjoy, and it's a challenge. And yeah, we've had some bad times. Last year we got to Erie, and well, didn't get to Erie, got to Cozad, where I mentioned we picked up Mark last year. Picked up Mark, and guys behind me said, "Hey, Mike, I think you got a flat tire, or you got a lug nut loose on your hub." Well, long story short, we stopped every 100 miles going to Erie from Cozad. It wasn't the lug nut. It was something that was just wiggling back there. And come to find out, once we slow goed it into Port Clinton, about $6,000 later, and a new hub airlifted to Port Clinton, and then a new axle. Come to find out, we only used my boat for 3 out of the 6 days, or seven, whatever. I think it's six, because it was in the shop because we had to get the hub replaced, and you can't have the boat over there. They don't have anywhere you can keep the boat in water. So we shared a boat. And so there's different things can happen, different things are going to happen, and it's always sucks when it happens to your boat, does things, but that's part of it, and take it in stride. And a lot easier for me than it is your mother, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But
So on
yeah, there's different challenges for every body of water you go to.
yeah, on the fishing side of it, I mean, how much has your I guess not necessarily your style, but like the way you go about your style and like different lures and things like that. To how much has it changed from the first year you've gone up there to what you plan on doing this year?
At Lake Erie, I would say it hasn't changed a whole bunch. We're when we go, we always go the last week of April, through sometime the first week of May, sometime in there. That is we're going to be in the post spawn. Um, the migration of walleye that come out of the Detroit River kind of swoop down into the western basin of Erie, and then gradually head up and get on the eastern side of Erie and end up towards Buffalo, New York, in the deeper, cooler water, and that's the eastern basin. And then they'll
Hmm.
turn around and then come make the exact same path, so I'm told. And then in fall, I would guess October, September, I don't even know when it is, fishing exactly where we're going to fit, where we fish in April. You catch the fish going the other way, back up to the river. Uh, so those fish are there. I mean, you'll see it stacked up just that high in fish on the screens, and it's just a matter of the type of bait, the color of bait, the depth of your bait, speed you're pulling your bait. Um, there are people that are starting to use hair jigs out there. We go knowing that we're going to pull cranks and we're going to look for the big post spawns. Um, you get a spawner that's that's still got the eggs in there. We try to recognize it, but sometimes you just can't. I mean, you'll see when they're plumb full of eggs. It's obvious.
Yeah. Yeah, they're fat.
But I couldn't even tell you. I know Curtis and I were just talking the other day night about how many hundreds of millions of 18, 20-inch walleye, 20 and big larger inch walleye that are in this migration. And somehow I think he thought he had heard that there were over 10 million or 5 million, whatever it was, fish that were over 10 pounds. Um, it's just amazing to me that you could get into that type of fish with that many
Yeah.
around there. I mean, and if you got a chance to do it, I do it. And that's kind of that's the adrenaline that goes, that's why we want to go out there all the time. And like I said, it's become an annual trip. This will be the second year in a row. And like I said, the other two had a couple years in between them, but um, I've already got people that, just today I was down to getting something back to the boat shop there at Bellwoods and talking to a guy. And he said, "Oh man, take pictures, send pictures back. I want to see that. Maybe we can get a chance to get out there with you sometime." Don't even know the guy, but sure, let's go. Uh, kind of,
Join the caravan.
yeah, it's fishing, and it don't matter if you know a guy for your whole life or you just met him. We asked our new neighbor Tom. I think we'd only met him a handful of times. Said, "Hey, if you're interested in going, we're going to Erie. I'm retired. Yeah, if you don't mind, I'd love to go." Uh, so yeah, we do that, and then we'll get back from Erie, and I think back to our previous episode when I was out in Mississippi turkey hunting, I had mentioned that I had a Kansas tag. I'm going to go back out and blue catfish um, in Kansas that first week or second, beginning of the second week, somewhere in there. I think around the fifth or sixth. Um,
Mhm.
go blue cat fishing, try to catch some of them big cats, and then take a couple days to shoot a turkey. And then when we get back from that, well, Glendale will be hotter than heck, just like every year it is, middle of May through June. So we'll be every day, and we'll have friends come up and fish that every day. I always have a goal to get it, and I keep track on my phone to be on the water 100 days a year. Um, which you think, well, there's 365. That's only a third of the year. Uh, how fortunate am I to be able to say I'm probably going to fish a third of the year this year? That's awesome. Um,
Right.
we'll do that, and then um, Mom and I are gonna go at the end of June. Oh no, July 2nd to the 9th. Um, we're going back up to Lake of the Woods, there in Canada. Stay at Flag Island.
Nice.
That's with our good friend Sheila from Palmer, Kansas. Go with them and stay out there for the week. And then I don't believe we got any more trips unless something comes up. You never know.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, you mentioned Glendale gets hot fishing May through June, and you basically during that time frame you almost turn into like a guide of sorts for fishing because, like you said, you have friends and family friends and friends of friends that you know word gets out that you know Mumbo's on to fish, and if you want walleye, let's go to Glendale, and all of a sudden you got groups of people that you know three people down the line, you have no clue who they are, but they're a friend of a friend of a friend, and all of a sudden they're on your boat because they're passing through or something, and you're taking them on a trip, and it's like, yeah, let's go catch some walleyes. So, that like you said, that's kind of the bulk of like your May and June is you're out on the boat and you're showing people where the fish are, and like you said, you don't really keep the secrets. Maybe you have a super secret spot that when you want to get away, you go there, but you know, your knowledge is everybody's knowledge. Let's all go catch some fish. Let's get everybody supper, have a big fish fry.
Yeah, we do. We like to put on fish fries. There for a while, it was about once a week, but now that other people are out here, it's get busy and doing stuff. But yeah, back to your point, the boy starting in middle May. You're 100% correct. I've already had two people that say, "Hey, could you just put me on your calendar for this weekend, such and such 4 days?" And I'm like, our good friend Kenny across the street, he's busy working and keeps threatening to retire, but he always brings his kids up. Matter of fact, you were on the boat one time with the kids up. I think he always likes to put me on on his calendar and put him on my calendar, um, so that when those kids come up, that he doesn't have to take them out and show them where the fish are, and he can just sit in my boat and drink beer and look at flag. Say, well, flag down, flag on the right, flag on the left, at second board, whatever it is. And I think that one day I want to say we had five. We had his two boys, you, me, and Kenny.
Mhm.
I know that it wasn't even close to 4 o'clock. I'll bet you it was about 2 o'clock, and we don't get up at the crack of dawn by any means. And I don't know that we could have fit another fish in that live well. We had 30 fish. I think the smallest was 17, and the biggest was maybe a 20, if that. We might have had one bigger fish in there that the one Jeremy from Kansas, I mean from Texas, he might have kept a big fish. I'm not positive, but I think we did have one good one in there that probably one that we'd throw back now. But um, like I said, if somebody that doesn't come up very often doesn't get a chance to fish walleye and catch a good fish,
Yeah.
keep one and
Right.
call. Now let's go keep. Now we'll keep eaters. We always like
Yep.
pictures so we can hang them on the wall. But
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's like those fish that are not big enough to mount, but too big to keep. We have a good handful of pictures, and like you had mentioned there at the tail end of the last episode, you got pictures of you or whoever with fish just kind of all over the place in the house and mudroom, whatever. And um, but yeah, it's just one of those things where you got your cap, kind of your cap limit that we had mentioned before, and unless you're an out of towner, you're putting them back, and but you still get the memory of them, the picture, not necessarily amount. So yeah, it's good stuff. Yeah, I remember that when we had all those fish, and like you said, we probably couldn't fit another fish in there, and we were I remember we would like have to take them all out into the net and like recount all the fish because we have a system, but with that many people, do you still have the lanyard with the beads?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, so that lanyard with the beads, they're all what is it normally 3 or 4 colors, and you count it off, and that tells you how many people have a limit.
I think there's 4 different colors, 6 of each color. So there's the 6 is the limit, which in most walleye lakes in the United States that I've been to anyway, 6 is the limit.
Yeah.
Um, so when you get 6 fish, one full, so all of your orange beads are done. You're at one limit.
Yeah.
Then you start on the purple beads, and then the green beads, whatever. But yeah,
Right.
our beads were all gone, so we just to make sure. God forbid we go in without our limit, so we had to
Right.
get them all out and count them again, and we can catch 2 more fish. Well, we're one short. Thank goodness we've been pretty good at not having one fish too many anyway.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's always okay to come back with one shy, and you realize as you're cleaning the fish, oh man, we could have stayed out 10 more minutes and caught one more. Yeah, you never want to be cleaning fish and being like, did we bring a mouse in our pocket? Somebody else with a license show up?
yeah, I just did 18 fish, and here's number 19, and there were only 3 of us.
But yeah, I remember that day because we like you said, we ran out of beads. We had 5 people, and that the lanyard only has enough for a 4-man limit because that's kind of the usual uh number of people you have on the boat, and never expect to have really 5 or 6 people. And it's like, well, we're going for limits, and we got to count them because we don't know how many more than the whatever 24 we've caught is. So
Yeah,
taking them all out of the net. All right, 1, 2,
yeah.
3, 15, 20.
Well, and you boys were having such a good time, and sitting there. And I was just driving the boat, and Kenny was marking fish and getting everybody beers while they were reeling in fish. And pretty soon we got down to the 24, no, 18, you three. And I said, well, you can keep, we're not supposed to, but you could say that I'll reel in my limit. We got more, and you're supposed to reel in and and fish. But needless to say, we ended up with six or no, 5 people fishing there with licenses and got 5 limit. Yeah. 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 There wasn't much water in that tank.
Yeah,
Most meat.
it was pretty full of fish meat there.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, it's always fun. So, um, without giving away, we mentioned fish fry. Without giving away your secret recipe, what's your go-to method for a fish fry? I mean, you can give away your recipe maybe to keep out a secret ingredient, but your fish and Curtis, I think you guys do it very similar, maybe a little bit different here and there, but it's my favorite fried fish recipe. Obviously, walleye is going to be different than catfish or what have you, but I love a fried walleye the way you guys do it. So, kind of share with the listeners how you guys cook your fish.
It's fried out like you say, so your oil and everything. And um, years ago you get shoreline lunch in the box, and you could get breading for this and breading for that. Well, Curtis had kind of got us on to the way he was cooking his at the marina, and I really liked it. It was good. So come to find out, all we did now is Ritz crackers, sleeve of them, whatever, and get them in a food processor and puree them or blend them, whichever. And then I always sprinkle some, put in a good portion of panko just for some crunch.
Yep.
He is to bread it lightly. We don't. You definitely want to be able to taste the walleye. It's the best eating fish there is,
Yeah.
and if you just blanch it all up with spear batter and batter, you end up that's what you taste. You don't taste the walleye.
Yeah.
So we bread it, and you do your egg wash and you do your flour and shake it all off and dip it in the oil. And I think a lot of it is not keeping it in the oil too long. Um, that's what we're always cautious of, and not letting it soak up too much oil. So your oil really needs to be around 350. Gets down to 325, we'll let it heat back up. But yeah, it's simple. That's our favorite, go to all around. We make our own tartar sauce and our own cocktail sauce, and that always is good too. But there again, you don't want to put too much of it on; you lose the flavor of the walleye.
Right.
Um, but your mom and I, we stock up and keep enough walleye for us, our limits, so that we can eat, you know, hopefully year round. And we do a lot of fish tacos, walleye tacos, and uh,
Mhm.
walleye and walleye sandwiches. And I started making some walleye cakes, like crab cakes, walleye chowder. I cut the cheeks in the bigger fish that we keep, the 18s, 20s, keep all those. And now our neighbors around, Kenny and Curtis, when he does, they all cut their cheeks out, and we vacuum seal individually and keep those in a different freezer. And then they're really good with the chowder, with the walleye chowder, because they don't flake off. It's more like a clam
Right.
texture, and it's really good stuff. And we found a lot of different ways, kind of like the Bubba Gump of the walleye industry. But it's fun to do.
Yeah.
We've taken taken to the walleye, the pheasants, the deer and elk, and now it's starting here. Got your mom all laid out, and when to water what and how to take care of stuff so that our greenhouse and all the plants don't die off. But
Oh
uh,
yeah.
yeah, just living life up here and being pretty much self-sufficient. Um,
Right.
Live out in the middle of Wyoming. You don't get a chance to go out to eat every night like we did down in Arvada all those years growing up. So
Right. Yeah,
definitely,
you guys have your own little mini farm. You know, vegetables and some fruits and stuff like that. But your own little mini farm there, and like you said, all the wildlife you guys hunt and fish and harvest and stuff like that. Keep the freezer stocked. That's kind of what you're living off of most of the time. The occasional trip to the grocery store to restock on all those other stuff that you don't grow or you don't hunt. Maybe you get a restock on some ground beef or whatever if you run out or you don't have enough ground meat. Like you said, you're pretty self-sufficient up there.
yeah, I can't tell you the last time we bought ground meat. We had a cow that Sean Glenn sold us. That's been 3 years ago. And other than that, it's deer and elk that we ground up and make into hamburger. That's what we use. If we buy anything, it's usually we try to get to the rib roast section around Easter. They ran out this year. We didn't get in time, but I think we're good for ribeye steaks for the year, because we usually get a $300 rib roast and cut it up into 20, 30, but we get it for $85 when they're on sale. Um, Cut them up into steaks, and that's about the only meat we buy other than the occasional chicken. And
Right.
I'm tired of eating pheasant.
Yep.
But yep,
Nice. Well, no, it sounds like you got a fun trip lined up and you got a fun summer ahead of you of walleye fishing and you know hunting season. You did mention you're going to try to get another turkey. There in Kansas, but other than that, hunting season's pretty much done until deer or elk or whatever you decide to do next come fall time. But summertime's
get a chance to run up here to a ranch or public land and look for a turkey here too when we get back.
oh yeah. So
Always do that.
get yep get get a turkey in Kansas, turkey in Wyoming, and then hunting will be probably done for you, and fishing for 3 months, 4 months, and
3 or 4. What are you going to do with the other 2 or 3?
hey, you're retired. You get to fish all you want.
We go all the way through to Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
in and around deer hunting season, pheasant hunting. But there were a couple times last year we went out and shot our limit of pheasants, and then went and got a limit of walleye.
Hey, can't beat that.
Yeah.
Cannot beat that.
Yep.
So,
Good times.
yep. All right. Well, enjoy your trip, and we'll catch you when you get back from all of your more recent adventures, and we'll get a recap on all that, and maybe get some memories from there on the memories from Mumbo. All right, perfect. Well, appreciate you guys listening. We'll catch you guys on the next one.
Alrighty.